Order in the court. The sharp crack of the judge's gavel echoed like thunder, slicing through the heavy silence that gripped the courtroom. Every whisper died instantly. Every eye turned forward. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that presses down on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. And at the center of it all stood Kody Brown, the once swaggering man on television screens with a confidence that was larger than life, flashing his smile and tossing his golden curls, now seemed to shrink to nothing. His shoulders slumped forward, his face sickly pale in the bright fluorescent light of the courtroom. Those curls that had once been his crown of glory were lifeless, soggy with perspiration of nervousness. Kody's suit, a sleek black coat and burgundy tie, was too formal, too stiff, a costume he wasn't supposed to wear. He adjusted his collar like it was choking him, though the true noose was not in sight, the vice of betrayal tightening from every angle. Across the aisle, three familiar faces sat shoulder to shoulder, Meri, Janelle, and Christine. Years had passed since their lives were marked by rivalry, silent competition, and the draining fight for Kody's attention. But today, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, they stood together, and their combined stare, steady, piercing, unblinking, was fixed squarely on him. Meri sat stiffly, her face impassive, though her tightly clenched fists betrayed the tempest churning within her. To her left, Janelle fiddled with her glasses, her serene expression concealing the flames that had been simmering for so long. Christine set her jaw, her eyes narrowing with intensity that could cut through steel. No longer did it matter about love. No longer did it matter about jealousy. No longer did it matter about polygamy. War was what it was now. The gallery behind them was packed with curious onlookers, journalists, and even a few former friends of the family who couldn't resist witnessing the implosion of the once famous Brown empire. Cameras were forbidden inside, but the tension, the suspense, the electricity in the room, it was enough to feel like a live broadcast anyway. Everyone sensed that something big was going to happen, but nobody, not even Kody himself, had a clue what it would look like. Kody's silent panic, Kody's thoughts whirled as he looked around the courtroom. His lawyer leaned in, whispering plans, but the words jumbled together in confusion. All Kody could think was, how did it come to this? For years he had assured himself he was in charge. He had assured himself that he was the only one who knew the truth. He believed the wives would never turn against him together. Too broken, too suspicious of each other. But here they were, together, unified in a way he had never seen. A single bead of sweat rolled down his temple. He attempted to swipe it away nonchalantly, but his shaking hand caught him up. His daughters were in the back somewhere. He was certain. Some had rallied behind him. Most hadn't. The potential of their censure cut more sharply than the icy stare of his wives. Kody clenched his teeth. He wanted to yell, to insist on respect, to remind everybody that he was the head of this household, the patriarch, the one who had constructed it all. But he remained silent. For the first time, quiet seemed more secure than his own voice. The judge's warning. The judge, a hard man with steel-gray hair and no-nonsense attitude, leaned forward. His voice rang across the room, quiet but unyielding. This isn't a circus, this is a court of law. If anyone tries to make this a show, they will be escorted out. The threat was not aimed at any one person, but Kody felt it like a beam. He adjusted in his seat, pulling once more at his collar. Meri smirked ever so slightly. Christine shared the briefest look with Janelle. Their self-assurance was building, while his was faltering. The weight of history. The reality was, this moment had taken years to construct. Decades earlier, the Browns had lived under a tenuous illusion, a home constructed on shaky ground. The cameras had once portrayed them as an unusual family attempting to live their faith, rearing kids in harmony amidst jealousy, conflict, and heartache. But in private, there had always been cracks. Broken vows, financial dishonesty, emotional abandonment. Tears silently cried in the dead of night, while Kody pursued his own idea of family. Those fissures had grown wider over the years. They had turned into chasms. And now, in this court, all was being exposed. The wives were aware. The children knew. And somewhere deep within, even Kody was aware. The suspense builds, a hum ran through the courtroom, as Christine shifted uncomfortably in her seat, ready to rise. But the judge held up his hand. Not yet. We will hear statements in sequence. The tension increased another level. Every second seemed drawn out, prolonged, like a drum roll preceding a grand unveiling. Kody drummed his fingers restlessly on the table. Remain calm, he reminded himself. You're still Kody Brown, you're still in charge. They need you more than you need them. But the words sounded empty. The reverse was true. And he knew it. And the knowledge shook him to his foundations. He glanced at Robyn, who was sitting a few seats behind him. She had always been his best defender, his ally, the one who stayed with him even when the others walked away. But today, even Robyn's face was impenetrable. Her eyes seemed heavy, worried, unsure. She didn't smile. She didn't nod. She didn't offer him the reassurance that he desperately sought. It was like she wasn't even certain whose team she was on anymore. The whisper of secrets, and then it occurred. A single sheet of paper crept across the wives' table. Janelle slid it on. Christine's hand went over it guardingly. Meri looked at Kody, her mouth twisting in the slightest of smiles. It was a small thing, almost nothing, but it bore the connotation of destruction. Kody's stomach turned. He didn't know what was on that sheet of paper. He didn't know what their secret was. But he knew this. If they had something solid, something unshakable, it could bring down everything. His heart thundered in his chest. His breath shortened. For one moment, he was afraid he'd black out. The whole courtroom leaned in, aware of the same thing he was. The storm was brewing. The final glance, the gavel of the judge tapped softly again. We will continue with opening statements. Christine started to stand. But before she said anything, she fixed a hard stare at Kody. Her eyes were cold, blazing with years of betrayal. But behind them was something even more deadly: certainty. She knew she was in control. And Kody, for the first time ever, felt helpless. The judge coughed, his voice deep but authoritative. Mrs. Christine Brown, he declared. You may continue. Christine stood up slowly from her chair. The agitation of her clothing sounded louder than it could have been in the charged quiet. Her head was held high, blonde hair glowing under the fluorescent lights. For years she had been written off as the emotional one, the dramatic one, the wife who walked away. But today, in this courtroom, her voice held the power of truth. Your Honor, she started, her tone steady, though her hands shook a fraction on the lectern. For 40 years we lived by Kody's rules. We trusted him to guide, to provide, to protect. What he did was use us. Financially, emotionally, spiritually. He spent our savings, deceived us about our security, and left our children behind in the bargain. A wave of murmurs ran through the crowd. Christine held a pile of papers up high for the judge to read. Here, she cried, her voice growing angry, are the bank account records hidden in his name. Accounts that we, his wives, never even knew he had. While we struggled, while we went without paying bills and putting food on the table for our children, he was siphoning money off into hidden accounts. Kody slammed his palm against the table. That's a lie, he barked, his voice cracking. His attorney tugged on his sleeve, hissing, sit down, don't make it worse. But Kody's temper was already slipping, his polished mask beginning to crack. Meri's turn. The judge raised an eyebrow. You'll have your turn, Mr. Brown. For now, remain silent. Christine stepped back, and Meri took her place. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Meri, the first wife, the original partner, the one who had stayed silent through humiliation after humiliation. Her voice was the one people had always wondered about. Would she defend him? Would she stand by him even now? But Meri's face was carved from stone. Her voice, when it came, was sharp enough to cut glass. I lingered for years, Your Honor, Meri continued, never taking her gaze off Kody. I lingered because I believed in family. I believed in loyalty. I believed in him. But loyalty became shackles, and those shackles almost killed me. The room was silent as a tomb. Meri's voice cracked as she continued. He didn't just abandon us as wives. He abandoned our children. He let them grow up without the support they deserved. And when the cameras stopped rolling, when the lights faded, He wasn't the loving father or husband he pretended to be. He was cold. Controlling. Kody's jaw was clenched so hard it seemed like it would snap. His face reddened. His hands white-knuckled on the edge of the table. Meri stood facing away from him, her eyes square on the judge. This isn't about money. This is about the years we lost. The trust he destroyed. The lives he hurt. Today is about truth. And I won't be quiet anymore. Janelle's calm fire. Janelle stood next. She adjusted her glasses, her composure steady in contrast to Christine's fire and Meri's raw emotion. But calm didn't mean weak. Her words carried the weight of evidence, of quiet observation sharpened into a blade. Your Honor, Janelle said, laying out a thick binder. I have records, dates, transfers, proof of manipulation. This is not just a matter of opinion or emotion, it is fact. She opened the binder and showed him neatly stacked papers. As our family companies suffered, while our houses hung in the balance, Mr. Brown transferred monies into accounts with shell names. He borrowed against our houses without telling us. He linked our financial destinies to his without consulting us. The judge leaned forward, reading the first page she handed him. His face darkened. Kody shook his head vigorously. This is absurd. That money was for the family. Everything I did was for the family. Christine laughed from her chair. Youth's family, Kody. Ours, or only Robyn's? The words are like a lightning bolt. Murmurs run through the room once more. Robyn's name is on the table now. Kody spun his head about, eyes blazing at Christine. Don't you dare bring her into this. But the harm was done. Everyone was thinking it. For years there were the whispers that went around. Kody liked Robyn best, gave her children first priority, sent money to her home while the others struggled. And now, in a courtroom, those whispers were becoming proof. The pressure mounts. The judge held up his hand for quiet. Mr. Brown, you will be quiet until it is your turn to speak. Kody leaned back in his chair, his face flushed with anger. His chest was heaving, like a man trapped and pinned. His lawyer scribbled furiously on a pad of paper, but Kody hardly looked at it. His eyes fastened on his wives instead. Traitors, he seethed, ungrateful traitors. After all I provided for them. After all I gave up. But secretly, a gnawing apprehension curled within his belly. For if indeed they did possess the evidence they said they did, if they had joined this together against him, then for the first time in his life, Kody may not be at the top, and he wasn't certain how to battle without it. The courtroom atmosphere. The air was suffocating. Every word spoken by the wives felt like a nail being hammered into the coffin of Kody's reputation. Every document presented was another weight pressing down on him. The reporters wrote frantically in notebooks. Old pals in the audience shared knowing looks. Even the court clerk, one who had witnessed innumerable cases cross these walls, appeared disturbed by the raw energy emanating from this family fight. It wasn't merely a case. It was a reckoning. The suspense of the unknown. Christine leaned forward once more, unable to remain quiet anymore. Your Honor, she declared, her voice shaking with belief. There's more, so much more. And when it comes out, it will show beyond any shadow of a doubt who Kody Brown really is. Kody was stuck in place. His breath had stuck in his throat. What did she have? What else did they have? The question hung there, heavy with tension. No one replied. Not yet, but the way Christine looked at Meri, and the way Janelle pounded her binder with steadfast conviction, it was obvious. They weren't done. Not even close. Kody's collapsing composure. For years Kody had constructed his universe on control. Control of the narrative. Control of his wives. Control of his family finances. He had thought his charm, his dominance, his sheer force of will would always insulate him. But here, in this courtroom, all of that didn't matter. His voice had been silenced. His wives, who had been divided, stood united. The judge's eyes hardened with each bit of evidence presented. And worst of all, Kody felt something he hadn't in years. Fear. The walls seemed to press in closer. The air seemed more tenuous. His hands prickled with sweat. He wanted to yell, to shatter the silence, to reclaim the control that slipped from his grasp like sand. But all he could do was sit, wait, and speculate upon what annihilating truth was about to be revealed to him. The war had been declared. The wives were united. And Kody Brown, for the first time in his life, was no longer the alpha. And everyone in the courtroom understood it. The courtroom was heavier now. Like the walls themselves were closing in. The wives had been heard. Their voices, tempered by years of silence, betrayal, and heartbreak, still lingered in the air like thunder after lightning. But that was merely the start. The attorney for the wives, a poised but keen-minded woman named Miss Caldwell, rose and walked to the judge's bench, with a thin folder in hand. Her heels rang sharply on the waxed floor, each step amplified in the silence. "Your Honor," she continued, setting the folder down with slow deliberation, "within are financial documents. They document the existence of several secret accounts in Mr. Brown's name, accounts he never revealed to his wives, or to the family trust he purported to maintain." She hesitated, her gaze drifting momentarily toward Kody, who sat tense, his jaw clenched, his hands around the edge of the table, as if he might rend it from its sockets. "Each of these accounts," Caldwell went on, "deposit, withdraw, and transfer more than 10 years back. They indicate a pattern of concealment, a conscious channeling of assets out of the collective family resources into Mr. Brown's individual control." Silence rolled over the room. Even the scratching of pens by the reporters had ceased. The judge opened the folder, his face narrowing as his gaze read the figures. "Is this confirmed?" he said softly. "Yes, Your Honor," Caldwell said. "We subpoenaed the banks themselves. These are their official records." Gasps and denial. The gallery was filled with whispers. Meri straightened, Christine's lips twitching up into the smallest smile of grim pleasure, and Janelle clasped her hands, her tranquil face revealing nothing but victory. Kody's response was instantaneous. His face turned red, his gold curls looking as if they were standing on end like a cornered lion. He leapt from his seat, pounding his fist on the table. "This is nonsense," he bellowed. His voice cracked as it echoed off the walls of the chamber. "That was family money. I was holding it in trust for us. All of us." The judge's gavel came down hard. "Mr. Brown, sit down at once. You will address me only when called upon." Kody froze, his breath coming fast and shallow. Reluctantly, he lowered himself back into his seat, but the wild fire in his eyes made it clear. He wasn't finished. Christine leaned toward Meri and whispered, just loud enough for the nearest reporters to catch, "He's unraveling." The letter. Caldwell didn't flinch at Kody's outburst. She simply pulled another sheet of paper from her file and handed it to the judge. "Your Honor," she continued, "if the accounts are not satisfactory enough, this letter should be." The judge resettled his glasses, uncreasing the yellowed page. His eyebrows rose slightly as he read. Caldwell pointed to Christine. "Mrs. Christine Brown will read it." Christine stood up, her voice firm even if her hands were shaking as she took the page. She cleared her throat. The room fell silent. Christine started reading. "If they ever leave, I will still control everything. They will never be free of me. The land, the homes, the money, it will all remain under my hand. They cannot win, because I will never let them." The silence that ensued was choking. The words clung to the air like smoke, poisoning all they touched. The judge lowered his eyes. Meri clamped her lips together, tears welling but not falling. Janelle merely nodded, as if to say, "We always knew, but now there can be no doubt." Kody sprang to his feet once more, his voice now desperate. "That's out of context. That was years ago. It doesn't signify anything. It was just things I wrote down." Christine slammed the letter onto the table. "Things? Those weren't things, Kody. They were threats. And you carried through on every last one of them." The judge's unease. The judge sat back in his chair, his face serious. He knocked once on the surface of it, not for quiet but in consideration. "This letter," he stated slowly, "implies premeditation. It implies taking a deliberate attempt to hold on to power, no matter the health of your family." His speech was slow, but the message was plain. The case against him was devastating. Kody swallowed hard. For the first time his arrogance appeared to fail. The unexpected voice. And then, just as it appeared the wives had delivered the final punch, Another voice interrupted the silence. Your Honor. Every head turned. It was Robyn Brown. The courtroom collectively breathed in. Kody spun around, his eyes bulging. Robyn, no. Don't, but she was already on her feet, her hands shaking, her eyes shining with tears. Her voice trembled, but there was a determination beneath. I can't remain silent anymore, she said. The words struck Kody more bitterly than any criticism until now. His knees gave way a little, and he clutched the back of his chair to keep from falling. Robyn's confession. Robyn glanced at the judge, then at the wives, then at last at Kody. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Kody forced me to sign things I had no idea about. He said it was for our family's protection, to assure things were in order. But later I found out those papers transferred money and property, everything just into his name alone. She brushed away her tears, her breathing unsteady. He convinced me it was for us, for the kids, but it wasn't. It was all about control, about maintaining power, even if it ruined everyone else. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Reporters wrote furiously. Christine gripped Meri's hand hard, her jaw dropping in shock. Even Janelle's serene mask broke, her eyes going wide. And Kody, he seemed betrayed. Robyn, he rasped, his voice low and menacing. What are you doing? Think of our kids. Think of our marriage. Robyn shook her head, tears flowing freely now. I am thinking of them. And that's why I can't cover for your lies anymore. The turning point. The wives gazed at Robyn, barely able to believe what had just occurred. She had been the favorite, the faithful one, the shelter Kody could always retreat behind for decades. And now here she was, pulling the rug out from under him. The judge's face set. Mrs. Robyn Brown, are you going to swear under oath that these documents do exist, and that you were deceived in their signing? Robyn spoke softly but firmly. Yes, Your Honor. I'll swear. Kody lurched back into his chair. The color drained from his face. His lips formed words, but no voice emerged. For the first time, he appeared less patriarch, less head of a family, and more likely to fold. Suspense thickens. The gallery was abuzz, but beneath the din, one truth was louder than all. The tide had shifted. The wives had made their argument. The letter had made his intentions clear. And now Robyn, his final line of defense, was breaking. Kody sat numb, his brain reeling. She was meant to be on my side. She was meant to defend me. And yet there she stood, aligning with them. The tension was agonizing. Everybody in the room sensed something disastrous was about to happen next. And the question that hung in the air like a heavy weight was simple. If Robyn would betray him, what else was going to be unveiled? The room had changed. Everyone knew it. Just a minute before, Kody Brown had been the self-assured patriarch, the guy who thought his wives would never turn against him. But now, with Robyn's shaking voice still ringing in the air, the power dynamic had changed. Kody leaned back in his chair, stunned. His jaw was agape, yet no words emerged. His eyes flicked between Robyn and the judge, as if he were looking for some reprieve, some safety net that would sweep him from the turbulent sea he felt washing over him. There was no reprieve, Mrs. Robyn Brown. The judge instructed firmly. You have stated under oath that you signed documents without complete understanding of their purpose. This is a very serious charge. Do you have those documents available to produce in this court? Robyn's voice trembled, but her response was firm. Yes, Your Honor. I have copies. I brought them with me today. She dipped into her bag, her hands shaking, and drew out a manila envelope. For an instant the rustling of paper was the only noise in the courtroom. She handed the papers to the bailiff, who took them to the judge. Kody's lawyer sprang up. Your Honor, this is extremely irregular. We haven't had a chance to read these papers. The judge shut him up with one upheld hand. You will get your turn. Sit down. Robyn's tears. Kody's anger. Robyn returned to her seat, white face, tear-stained eyes. She did not have the courage to glance at Kody. She could sense his glare searing into her like flames. Kody hunched over, his voice low, his words full of rage. How could you do this to me? To us? Robyn finally met his gaze. And in that moment, Everyone could see it. The shift in her. The loyalty that had once bound her to him had snapped. "I'm not doing this to you, Kody," she whispered, though the entire room heard. "I'm doing this for the truth. For our children, for everyone you've hurt." The words struck him like knives. He winced as if physically assaulted by her. His face contorted with anger, humiliation, and desperation. "Christine steps." And Christine stood up again, her tone biting. "For years you've told us Robyn was your rock, your protector, the one person who finally got you. And yet even she's witnessed the truth now. Do you understand what that means, Kody? It means your deceptions can no longer stand." Kody leapt out of his seat, his face flushed. "Shut up, Christine. You're the one who destroyed this family. You poisoned them all against me. You." The judge's gavel came down. "Mr. Brown, one further outburst, and you will be found in contempt." Kody stood stock still, gasping, his fists balled. He slowly sat back in his seat, but his anger seethed like molten lava under the surface. The evidence piles on the judge, thumbed through the papers Robyn had presented. His scowl grew with each page. He read one clause aloud. "In the case of separation or dissolution, all property rights shall belong solely to Kody Brown." The courtroom gasped. Janelle turned to Meri and said in a whisper, "He wrote us out totally. All the homes, all the possessions connected only to him." Meri nodded sternly. "He never intended to release us. Not truly." Kody's lawyer rushed to his feet once more. "Your Honor, these were legally binding and voluntarily signed. My client was within his rights." But Robyn's shaking voice interrupted. "Voluntarily? He trapped me. He said that if I didn't sign, the whole family would break up. He said I'd be the one to destroy it all. What option did I have?" Christine stood once more, her eyes ablaze with fire. "That's coercion, not choice. That's manipulation." The judge's head nodded fractionally, his face severe. "The court will take that point very seriously." The showdown boils over Kody. Couldn't keep it inside any longer. He jumped to his feet, shouting loudly, "You all wanted this family to fail. You never respected me. I was the only one keeping us together. And now you're ripping me apart in front of strangers. Do you know what this is? It's betrayal." His words bounced, echoing off the wooden walls, filling the courtroom with rage. But rather than quelling the wives, his tirade seemed to galvanize them. Meri got to her feet slowly, her voice firm but shattering. "Betrayal? You speak of betrayal, Kody? You betrayed us every day you lied. Every day you hid money. Every day you said we weren't enough. That wasn't family. That was control." Kody's expression twisted. But before he could say anything, Janelle joined in. "You betrayed our children as well. You left them without security, without stability. You chose power over love." Christine moved forward, her voice the loudest of them all. "And now that the truth is out, everyone can see you for who you are. Not a leader, not a father, not even a husband, just a man desperate to hold on to the last vestiges of control." The words were a hammer blow. Kody reeled backward, his face white, his ego broken, his golden curls, once his badge of charm, dangled limp and lifeless. The judge's warning. The gavel of the judge came down again. "Enough. This is a courtroom, not a shouting match." But even as he enforced order, the harm had been done. The wives had spoken their truth. Robyn had broken her silence. And Kody had revealed to the world his rage, his desperation, his unraveling control. The cornered patriarch Kody sat, his chest pumping, his eyes glassy. He had no friend left. Not Meri, not Janelle, not Christine, not even Robyn. For the first time in his life, Kody Brown was completely alone. His lawyer leaned in, whispering frantically. But Kody didn't hear. His eyes were on the floor, his mind whirring. "They can't win. They won't win. I still have cards left to play." And as if reading his mind, the judge addressed him. "Mr. Brown, is there something you'd like to say in your own defense?" Kody regarded him slowly, a weird smile spreading across his face. "Yes," he replied quietly. "Yes, there is." The wives exchanged apprehensive glances. Robyn went white. The audience tilted forward. Everyone sensed something was imminent, something large. And no one, not even the judge, knew what Kody was going to let loose. The air within the courtroom was tense. The judge's words hung suspended in the air. A knife to the heart. Mr. Brown, do you have anything you wish to say in your defense? Slowly Kody stood up from his seat. The man who had once walked with unbreakable pride now appeared empty, desperate but oddly defiant. His golden curls fell loose about his face. His forehead was slick with sweat, and his jaw was shaking. The silence was complete. Each gasp, each shuffle, each beat of his heart could be heard. Kody's lips lifted into a muted smile. A smile that did not belong in this room of justice, but in the head of a man who still thought he was above the law. Yes, Your Honor, he replied, his voice firm at first. I do. Kody's last stand. He took a step forward, away from the bench, and away from his frantic lawyer, who urged him to sit down. He turned not to the judge, but to his wives, to the women who had been his everything, and were now his enemies. You believe you've triumphed over me, Kody started, his words reverberating off the walls. You believe by bringing me into this courtroom, you can embarrass me, take away all that I have worked to build. You're mistaken. I'm still the patriarch of this family. And you, he shook his finger at Christine, Janelle and Meri, his hand trembling with fury. You are nothing without me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Christine clenched her fists. Janelle glared. Meri's lips tightened. But none of them spoke. They wanted him to hang himself with his own words. And you, Robyn. Kody's voice broke. He faced her betrayal, oozing from each word. The woman I trusted. The woman I committed everything to. You have the nerve to turn on me. After all I gave up. You've made the biggest blunder of your life. Robyn's eyes overflowed with tears. But she did not avert her gaze. Rather she breathed softly, barely loud enough for the microphones to record. No, Kody. My biggest mistake was thinking you. The courtroom exploded with whispers. The judge pounded his gavel relentlessly. Order! Order! The judge prepares the verdict. The room grew heavy with anticipation. The judge rearranged the stack of papers before him, his expression impossible to decipher. Throughout these proceedings, he started, his tone calm but assertive. We have heard evidence from several parties. We have also looked at financial records, personal histories, and most prominently, the evidence presented by Mrs. Robyn Brown. The court now needs to decide whether Mr. Brown has carried out financial fraud and coercion against his wives. Kody's chest heaved and fell quickly. His fists clutched the table so tightly that his knuckles whitened. The wives pushed forward. Their fate rested on the judge's words. Before I render my decision, the judge went on. Does the prosecution have anything further to say? Christine rose. Her voice was calm, but her words were knife-like. Your Honor, this isn't a case about money. It's about betrayal, manipulation, and abuse of trust over the course of years. Kody Brown created an empire of lies, and he wanted us to remain silent forever. But today, we will not remain silent. We want justice, not only for ourselves, but for the children who one day will look at what kind of man their father was. The crowd applauded before the bailiff yelled them quiet. The judge nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. He turned to Kody. And Mr. Brown, do you have a final defense? The shocking revelation. Kody rose to his feet again, a smile on his face. You people think you have me cornered, he said deliberately. But you don't know everything. You don't know the truth. The courtroom leaned forward. A collective breath held. Kody rummaged into his briefcase and produced a little black folder. He slapped it on the table with a flourish. These, he told her, are receipts of every single financial transaction this family has ever made. Every dollar they've spent. Every loan they've taken out. Every investment they've made. And what do they reflect? He grinned, enjoying the suspense. That I wasn't stashing money away. I was saving this family. I was keeping us from financial disaster. I was the only one looking out for us. His lawyer's eyes went wide. Even he hadn't been aware of this folder. Kody opened the folder and drew out a sheet. This he held aloft. Is evidence that this family would be broke without me. Everything I did for them. The wives glanced at each other uncertainly. For the first time, doubt danced in their eyes. Was it possible? Had Kody been looking out for them the whole time? The judge waved his hand. Give the documents to the bailiff. Kody smiled as the documents were handed over. Go on, read them. See for yourselves. I never was the bad guy. I was the hero. The twist. The judge read the documents. His forehead creased. He sat in silence at first. The silence hung in the air until at last he looked up, his face grim. Mr. Brown, he said deliberately. Do you know what you've just entered into evidence? Kody raised his chin defiantly. Yes, Your Honor, the truth. The judge's voice boomed in the courtroom. No, what you have presented are records of offshore accounts. Accounts in your name only. Accounts with more than $2 million that were never reported to your wives or this court. The room erupted, gasps, shouts, incredulity. Christine pressed her hand against her chest. Janelle's jaw went slack. Meri wept. Robyn hid her face in her hands. Kody stiffened. His self-satisfied grin dissolved into abhorrence. No, that's not. That's not what I meant. The judge banged his gavel. Mr. Brown, through your own actions, you have established the very fraud this court aimed to expose. This is irrefutable evidence of financial deceit. Kody recoiled, his face white, his frame shaking. He had ruined himself. The verdict. The judge spoke with cold finality. This court rules in favor of the plaintiffs. Meri Brown, Janelle Brown, Christine Brown, and by her own testimony, Robyn Brown, all joint holdings shall be divided equally among the wives effective immediately. Mr. Kody Brown is ordered to pay restitution from his hidden accounts. Additionally, his credibility in this court is forever lost. The gavel slammed down with a deafening crack. Case closed. The courtroom exploded. Cheers, tears, pandemonium. Christine embraced Janelle, both crying with relief. Meri sat stony-eyed, her gaze on Kody, a wash of sadness and vindication sweeping through her. And Robyn, trembling, shattered, whispered through tears. It's finally over. Kody's fall. Kody slumped into his chair, his world in ruins. The man who had once ruled over a family of 4 wives and 18 children now sat alone, shamed, powerless. Journalists flooded the corridor outside. Kody Brown's fall would be splashed across every headline, every monitor, every social media platform. But at that moment, none of that was important to him. All he could think of were the words ringing in his head. $2 million. Offshore accounts. Betrayal. The truth had consumed him, and he had served it up with his own 2 hands. The final image, as the wives exited the courtroom in a group for individual decisions for the first time in years. A photographer took one shot. Christine, Janelle, Meri and Robyn, walking side by side, heads held high. In the background, through the open doorway, Kody slumped over the defense table could be seen, his golden curls spilled over his face, his empire gone. That one photo would go viral. And with that, the world would be aware. The dynasty of Kody Brown had ended.